Hi, welcome back to Every Kid Can Play podcast, the podcast that focuses on the kids that might not always be seen or heard in sports and school. Today, I'm really excited. Have a friend of mine from high school, and he's just one of those be the light people that I luckily get to see occasion in some of my schools. He's just one of those guys that every time you see him, the room lights up. So I have Officer Tim Bell with me today, and Tim and I played football together, went to high school together, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But Tim, thanks for being on the Every Kid Can Play podcast, and just want to have you start off and kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, and kind of your journey in life so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, Matt. Like Matt said, my name's Tim Bell. I'm a police officer at the Topeka Police Department. Been on the department going on close to 9 years now. Born and raised here in Topeka, so community is very near and dear to my heart. And working with kids in the community is definitely something I'm passionate about. Um, and I've been passionate about it for a long time. You know, working through the Topeka Youth Project, family service and guidance, and things like that. Try to put my stamp on really helping the youth in the community. And I'm just fortunate enough that the police department allows me to do that full time. It's a blessing to work for a department who cares about trying to help our youth. So been very fortunate with that. But yeah, it's been a great journey being a police officer and learning about the laws of our city and the lands that we live in. So definitely been something that I feel fortunate for, and now able to educate people on those things and educate our young people on that type of stuff too. And hopefully get more people who do want to be part of their community and law enforcement or a firefighter and things like that. Being a public servant and giving back to the community that raised you is definitely something that I want to preach and get the kids to buy into.
Awesome. So my first question is, why law enforcement? What when you graduated high school and then after that, like what made you decide, why go into the law enforcement?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big things that was kind of going on shortly after we get out of high school was the Knollwood 9 incident. Um, and I'll let people research that themselves. But there are some people in our community who aren't doing the best things in our community, and that was just something that I didn't really care for too much because I was just wondering what has caused people to go that far in the wrong direction that they want to harm our community, and what things happened to them as a kid that may be the reason for it. And I just wanted to explore that about how can we fix that, and that kind of just naturally started leading me towards law enforcement and some of the things that I felt near and dear to. So that was one of the big ways to do it. And I just met a lot of police officers in my job when I was working for security at Walmart. And they just left a good impression. And I really felt like I could make a difference as a law enforcement officer and the way I interact with people and want to help people in general. Even if they're doing the wrong thing, they still need help. We still got to figure out a way, how can we break that cycle to get them on their feet. So that was just something that really resonated with me, dealing with the officers in our community and getting to know the type of things I can do within the department. So it's kind of a done deal once I started meeting more officers, and they really encouraged me to join.
Awesome. So I want to kind of shift a little bit because I get to see you at Eisenhower sometimes and also at Highland Park. Are those the only two schools that the OK program is at right now?
Yeah, so just a little bit of background on that. So the OK program is, I'm the OK program coordinator for the police department, and I'm also a youth outreach officer. So I'm directly over the OK program, and what that is, it's a mentorship program specifically for African American boys 12 to 18. And, you got a lot of people who say, why do we have a program specifically for one group of kids? Well, the reason being is because 72% of African American households is ran by a single woman. So these young boys are not growing up with a lot of positive male role models to model how to get through life for them. So we try to do that through the OK program. So I have two chapters, the Eisenhower chapter and the Highland Park chapter. So the kids will be in the program from sixth grade all the way up until they graduate high school. And I'm there in the school system with them. So I monitor their grades. I'm making sure they're turning in assignments on time, but I'm also helping with home life. If they have some issues going on at home that makes it hard for them to be the most productive student they can be, I can get the families in touch with the resources that they need to make sure that our students have a fair opportunity and they do have the opportunity to succeed. So it's been a fun being a part of so many young men's lives in the city and getting them on the right path that way.
Yeah. So what are some of the things I know? At one point, you guys had like a lawn service. What are some other things that you guys have done just to kind of get some positivity in their lives? And I know you've done quite a few things in the community with that too.
Yeah, so during the summertime, one of the big issues that I wanted to help combat is learning how to manage and to save money. So yeah, we purchased lawn care equipment, and I call it the Worth Our Weight initiative. That we want to prove that we're worth the weight in society and that we can hold our own. So what I do is we actually don't charge a set price for our lawn care service. What we do is I tell the people that when we come to your house, pay the kids what you think is appropriate for how good of a job they do. So these kids start having the understanding that if I do a really good job, I'm going to get rewarded and be better off for it. And I really translate that back to the classroom because when these kids come and cut grass and you just made $100 because you did a very, very good job, but another kid who cut that same yard who didn't do a good job and he only got $20, you start seeing that, man, if I really work and put enough effort into it, I can succeed. So a lot of the kids who've been cutting grass with me for the past 2 years and who do it on a regular basis and have put that hard work in is translated to the classroom too, because now they can see, man, hard work really does pay off. You're going to get in what you put in. You're going to get out of it what you put in. And other than that, the lawn care is one of the biggest things during the summertime, but we also do other things. We've gone and installed fire alarms in people's homes and things like that. We've gone to people's homes who their homes wasn't up to code compliance. We've helped with that, help rebuilding porches and things like that. So we try to get involved a lot, getting the kids to take some ownership of their community and wanting to help their neighbors. So I think that's very important to put the neighbor back in hood. So we definitely try that a lot to become as best neighbors as we can.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. And I definitely heard a little Coach Nick's in there. You get in what you put out, right? We unfortunately both we fortunately both had Coach Nick's, so that was
Yes,
definitely a
absolutely.
coach. And we'll talk about coaches here in a minute, but that's awesome, man. I really, like I said, I think it's awesome what you do. The main thing is so when we had this COVID-19 thing going on, how were you able to still connect with your kids in the OK program and things that maybe you might have to do a little bit differently?
Yeah, that was kind of a challenge. Just due to obviously being a police officer, I'm around a lot more people than people who were quarantining and staying indoors. So I really tried not to go and do my typical home visits as much or anything like that. What I did do though, I work with the HIP Foundation or the HIP program, the Home Incubator Hospitality Incubator program. It's a culinary school that we have in town. And early on in COVID, the grocery stores were pretty empty.
Yeah.
And you couldn't find any antibacterial and things like that. Well, that program works directly with food vendors. So even if there's a shortage in the grocery store, I could still get food delivered directly to the culinary school. So I made a bunch of care packages and sent them out to the community, making sure some of my families who are most in need, making sure they were getting food and being taken care of. That was one of the biggest things. And then Zoom and Google Hangouts and things like that. That made a big impact. To call my kids and talk to them this way, so they can still talk to you face to face. And we don't have to, and we can still keep our social distancing guidelines and whatnot. But yeah, it was an interesting time going through COVID, but I think maybe we regained a little bit there, getting to spend more time with our families. So I think there's some positives that's come out of it as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I definitely, it was a struggle for sure, but we actually, as a society, I feel like we came together and try to figure it out the best we can. So then, not only are you on all these boards, you police officer, and you're an OK program, you're also a coach at Highland Park High School for football, and then you still coach track at Shawnee Heights, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of shift a little bit to the coaching side since this is a little sports related. But first, I want you to kind of talk about one, what made you decide you wanted to be a coach, and then two, who was your most impactful coach? growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. As far as coaching, I was fortunate enough in my household, I have a mother and a father, and a very good father. But it would be remiss to say that it takes a village to raise children. And I think me and you have both been blessed that we've had guys like Coach Parks, Coach Nix, and Coach Swift to be a part of that village. And just the impact that Coach Nix and Coach Swift made on me in high school. And sometimes you don't really appreciate it until you're an adult, and you can look back and say, man, sometimes if they were tough on you, they weren't tough on you because they didn't like you or things like that. They were tough on you because they expected greatness of you that you didn't even expect of yourself. So knowing that and looking back at those two men, Coach Swift and Coach Nix, particularly for me, fortunately I didn't get to get coached under Coach Parks, but just talking to everybody who's been a part of Coach Parks and getting to know him now, I can say those men service to our community is invaluable. And taking what I've learned from them and what I've learned in the OK program and things like that, giving other kids that impact by being a coach is something that I feel like can make a big difference, and that can bridge some of the gaps that we see if they know that, man, I'm just a regular guy as a police officer, but I love you. That's why I'm your coach too. I want to come and I want to help you and support you, even if it's not through law enforcement or things like that. I just want to be here for you. I want to support you. And there's no greater no greater way to be there for somebody than in sports, because you get put in situations and certain stresses that now you can learn how to work through those things. I tell people all the time, there's really nothing harder that I've ever did than some of our football practices. And that's made me a better man, because I look at certain situations and I just don't stress out about it too much, because I'm like, well, I've already done things harder than this and survived, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. So I definitely, thank Coach Nix and Coach Swift for their impact, and especially now Coach Parks, as I'm an adult now, and his mentorship and his guidance really shapes how I coach people, and really shapes why I do what I do.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And then just kind of talk about some challenges you had, like your first year coaching football and first year coaching track, that you didn't, that as a new coach going in, and I think personally for me, when I was a brand new coach, it was that buy-in, and I think trying to get kids to realize I am there for them. Did you kind of have that same, like, how am I going to trust this guy? And I know at Highland Park they had a lot of coaching changes for a long time. They changed a lot of coaches, but how you got that buy-in from your student athletes?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a relationship that you have to build. I always equate it to a bank account. If you had a bank account and you never deposited anything into it, and you try to make a withdrawal, you go into the negative. So I look at relationships that way. If I'm not depositing love and care into the kids, and then I try to make a withdrawal by telling them or having to be negative or hard on them because they're not working hard or something like that, if I haven't ever built up a good relationship with them, then we're not going to have a good relationship. But that's the first thing. So I really try to build that trust and that bond first, before I even get to that coaching point. I can't really be an effective coach if they don't believe in what I'm telling them, like you said, the buy-in. So I would rather them to believe in me first as a man that cares about them, and believe in me first as somebody that they know is trying to get the best out of them. Once they believe that and they have that understanding, then now the coaching comes into play, where, sometimes when I'm coaching you, I'm going to have to tell you you're doing something wrong and that we got to fix. And sometimes that's going to come across differently depending on the level of relationship you've built with them. So definitely that was the first thing, is getting them to understand, I'm here and I care about you, and this is what we can do to get you better. And once you have that buy-in from them, the sky's the limit of what you can get accomplished. But that was one of my biggest struggles initially, is just because you played the sport doesn't necessarily make you a good coach at it yet. so
Yeah.
learning how to convey that message, and learn how you can actually be a teacher, because most coaches are great teachers first. If you don't know how to teach what you're trying to give to the kids, then you're gonna struggle that way. So knowing what I know and knowing how to teach it was two different things. So just learning how to actually teach the information that I know was a big struggle, and I feel like I've gotten better at it, these past 3 years.
And I think the transformational, Coach Parks talks big on transformational coaching and leadership versus transactional, being there to transform someone's life versus trying to get something out of them. And I think you do a great job at that. Just seeing how well you interact with the kids, even with your OK program and coaching, man. I definitely think you do an amazing job with that. So when you talk about 5-10 years down the road, with your mentors, your students when you're a mentor program, and then your kids that you coach, do you try to look long term and tell them, hey, this is where we're trying to get you to? Do you feel like it's hard to get that in their head sometime? And have you figured out some strategies to help with that?
Yeah, and I think it's definitely hard to get across sometimes because right now in society, we live in such a right now type of society. We got all this information right at our fingertips. So we expect things to happen just right away. Getting people to understand kind of, it takes time to get better. It takes time to get to a certain spot. Getting to people to understand and to buy into that, I'm not going to be great overnight. It takes time to get to that point. That is a struggle sometimes just because everything comes so instantly to us now in today's society. And I feel for coaches who coached 20 years ago compared to how it is coaching now. I feel like we're a little bit different as a society. So that is a big thing, is getting them to buy into that vision of the decisions that you make right now can have an impact 10 years from now. So if you want to go to a party instead of going to practice and things like that, you're not going to remember this party 10 years from now, but you are going to remember the relationships that you built practicing with your friends and being around your coaches. You're going to remember that forever. And really trying to get them to understand that, you're going to have a lasting impact with the decisions that you make right now. It is a challenge, but I think that again comes with the relationship that you have with the kids. When they really know that you care about them, they're going to think and know that what you're telling them is the truth. So just stress building that relationship. That's my biggest tip with that, is let them know who you are as a man or as a woman, and as a coach. When they know that and they can believe in that, then really again you can get them to understand that I care about you and I'm telling you is right. It's going to help you.
Yeah, and there's still days where I'm like doing something teaching wise or coaching, or even when I was in college playing football, I'm like, dang, Coach Swift was right again.
Yeah.
Coach Nix was right again. Dang. I'm like, God, there's still days today. I'm like, there it is again. It's still coming
Yeah.
up. So, I think trying to instill those values that we had from both those guys and me, Coach Parks, and just, I think, like you said, sometimes you don't appreciate it in the moment. And when you get later down the road, you're like, dang, he was right. And we weren't guys that skipped. We were there every day. We were we worked our butt off. We went to every weights. We went to Central Missouri. We busted our tail, and we had pretty successful, couple successful seasons as in high school. But I think looking long term, if people would realize how much good coaches can leave an impact on them, maybe we'll get more buy-in at the beginning. And it's hard. I remember there's days where I'm like, God, just want to walk off and cuss one of the coaches out under my breath and just walk away. And I'm like, God, this guy's just making me so mad. But then,
Yeah.
and that was in the moment, right? Like you talked about in the moment. But then you realize, yeah, that makes sense. So, all right, man, we're gonna do some basic rapid fire advice questions, and we'll just kind of wrap this up a little, make it a little fun. And the main one I have is, obviously we have a lot of young people struggling with a lot of things that are going on in the community, with the COVID, and then unfortunately George Floyd losing his life and all the things that are going on with that. I just want to kind of give you a platform and just talk about, advice you have for young people in this crazy time. One is coming as a African-American male, then also as a police officer.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I think it's just kind of one and the same, and something I struggle with as I'm in the schools. I've really tried to wrap my head around the fact that we don't really educate people on the laws that are within their city. I think that's a big thing, is to learn what you can and can't do in your city. And then if there's some things that you're like, well, why can't we do that? There's no harm in asking questions. Ask your city council, why do we have a law that you can't do such and such, and things like that, and learn your rights through the Constitution and things like that. I think that the more knowledge that you have, the more empowered you are, and that can help you with a whole lot of situations. But it can also kind of help you not be misled by some of the things that we see through the media and on social media that gets posted, because a lot of that stuff's not vetted, so you don't know if it's really the truth or not. And you just also have to realize too, different cities have different city ordinances and things like that. So you may see a video and you may be thinking that, oh, he's just getting harassed for no reason or something like that. If you don't necessarily know the city ordinances of that city or something like that, you don't exactly know what the laws is of those lands. So then you're thinking that's going to happen here in Topeka. Well, if we don't have that city ordinance, then that's never going to happen in Topeka. So just knowing the things about your city and within it, what you can do, I think would make a big difference, because then now you can start to affect change. If you know and are educated about your city, its police departments, its laws, and things like that, if you want to make a change that way, really make an effort to learn about them and learn what we do differently, because not all these cases are the same. Not every incident is the same. Our department is very progressive and a lot of issues. I know a lot of people wonder why do we go to mental health calls? Well, the city of Topeka, we actually have a whole mental health unit who goes to those calls, and they have mobile responders from Vallejo to go help with those calls. They're social workers. So we've taken a lot of steps already that the nationwide narrative, we do a lot to address those. And we've been doing it for the past 15 years to address a lot of the things that happen here. But yeah, my biggest thing for young people is just educate yourself about your city and the particular issues that you have in your city. Because if you're going to come and we're going to try to debate about issues that don't necessarily happen here, then we're not going to get anywhere. Really learn about what's going on in your city and what does need to be changed. And don't just let other people piggyback from different states. Don't piggyback what their issues are. Find out what the issues in your community are that you want to have a voice for, and peacefully protest about it. Do what our constitutional right is, but come from a place that you're educated about the issues and not just from what you're seeing on TV and things like that. Because every state is different, every city is different. So really just try to go that way and educate yourself about what we can do better and what we are doing around to see how we can fix it together.
That's awesome, man. That's great advice. And then, so I'm going to use, what is, as a coach, what has been your favorite memory so far as a coach?
So far, a lot of times you think it's the kids who, are the superstars or whatnot. Those kids were going to be good with or without me. Sometimes it's the kids who've never played the sport before, and now you're seeing them have fun with it. I have a young man right now in our football program. He's never played football before, and just the difference between how good he is now compared to when he first started last year, that's given me more joy than anything. Watching him learn and grow, and really start to understand the game, and apply what I'm teaching him to the game, and now he can see that, man, like really, if I just do what I'm supposed to do and work hard, I will get better. And seeing that light bulb go off on for some of these kids is just incredible. And seeing the kids feel empowered on their own.
Awesome. What is your favorite memory of playing sports?
My favorite memory playing sports is really the camaraderie with your teammates, and knowing that you got good, especially for us, that we had good coaches. But being around your teammates and being around men that actually really do care about you, and are teaching you the right things, that's got to be my favorite memory. And like I said, especially looking back now as an adult, and I'm looking back at the things that we were taught then, it's just like, man, like we really had some good men around us.
Yeah, for sure. And man, I just remember how close we were as a football team. We were everybody got along. We all were good friends, and there wasn't anybody that thought they were bigger than anybody else. And I think that was partly due to the coaches as well.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like the culture that was created, and really it wasn't just in one sport. It felt like it was shared across all the sports. The culture that we had from the coaches there at Shawnee Heights, I would go to bat and say it's one of the best cultures in America. Why we were there. Just the same message from everybody that you work hard, you're going to succeed. You work hard, you're going to succeed. That message was resonated through every single coaching staff, through every single program. And just that whole family atmosphere definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so here's just a few fun ones. You're watching TV when you have a chance, you're flipping through, and this movie pops up and you have to stop and watch it.
Ooh, man, probably The Matrix. It's my
Okay,
favorite movie.
there you go. Nice. Um, if you had a chance to go back to high school, what would one thing be that you could change? Anything?
I honestly, I don't think I would change anything. I felt like I got along with everybody, and made sure that I didn't try to just fit into one group. Really made sure that I try to be friends with everyone.
Yeah. And then another one is if your go-to meal, like if you could pick anything to eat any day of the week, what is something you could eat every single day?
Oh man, macaroni and cheese.
Nice. I'm a big mac and cheese fan too. That's for sure. All right. So last one is if you had a book or podcast that I should listen to that would help me become a better coach or person or man.
Uh, Probably Coach Park's podcast if you're not already listening to it. I think he hits on so many prevalent issues throughout society, and there's so many nuggets that you can get that translate to everything that's going on right now. Definitely would recommend listening to Coach Parks.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it, man. I always called you the pop master, man. I've never seen somebody run pop so fast before in football. So some of that's over a lot of people's heads. But man, I appreciate you, man. I love you to death. Hopefully, get to see you here in the fall. And do you have anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
Just want to make sure community knows that not even just as a police officer, but I really do love my community and want to take care of it. So always feel free to reach out about any questions that you have, any concerns. I'm always here 24/7. Easy to get a hold of. So thank you guys.
All right, man. I appreciate you. I love you. We'll hopefully have you on again here soon once it gets closer to football season. So, guys, this has been Every Kid Can Play podcast. A reminder, every kid deserves the right to play in sports and life.